Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Hey guys, good evening. It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. It is Friday, November 15, 2024, and we try to get the show out around 4 or 5 o'clock, but sometimes a little later, but we always get our shows out on the day that they're on, unless there's some challenge like inspirational shows. Sometimes we get it done right after midnight, but it's always done before I go to sleep. That is the promise. All right, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. Do check out my hat, believemeachieve.com, for more of my amazing, inspiring creations. It's so great to have you with me tonight. And this is a great time for you to go get yourself a cup of hot chocolate like I have right here. Delicious. Or maybe some candy, or perhaps some water, or some fruit, or anything else that you'd like. Could be a protein shake or something icy cold, whatever you like. Just go get that and hurry on back, all right? We have a great topic for tonight, and it is tech in action. Innovation Unleashed, ladies and gentlemen. We're on Series 3, and we're on show number 47. Wow, wow, wow. That's pretty incredible if you ask me. All right, so hurry back from the kitchen. We're going to get this show started, all right? So first thing is get ready, because we have a jam-packed episode of the JMOR Tech Talk Show where I'm spotlighting the week's biggest tech developments that are reshaping industries and our daily lives. And let's just get right into it, all right? Hurry back from the kitchen, because we're starting the show. All right. Laser tech detects illegal ivory. So scientists are using advanced laser-based Raman spectroscopy to combat illegal ivory trade by distinguishing elephant ivory from mammoth tusk. This is a game-changing tech that's going to enhance wildlife protection efforts, and I think it's something that is, I have to say, long overdue. Yeah, long overdue. So scientists from the University of Bristol have developed this groundbreaking laser technique, as I said, using Raman spectroscopy to quickly and non-destructively differentiate between illegal elephant ivory and legal mammoth tusk ivory. It could enhance global efforts to combat illegal ivory trade by providing customs officials with a faster, cost-effective tool for enhancement and enforcement. The method, which detects subtle chemical differences, addresses the challenge of distinguishing between similar-looking ivories and aims to deter, poaching by improving identification accuracy. That's really important. So I think that's a great thing. That's something that should have been around a long time ago. And our second topic for the evening is advanced cooling for AI chips. So a startup unveils novel cooling for AI-era microprocessors. Gematag, a Bellevue-based startup, has developed an innovative micro heat pump system designed to optimize the cooling of individual data center microprocessors, a crucial need in the AI boom. Co-founders Mauricio Mayozo and Manfred Markovich initially aimed to combine sustainability with growth, leading to partnerships like one with Italian aerospace firm Leonardo to enhance its supercomputer. Gematag's patented chip-level cooling boosts performance by over 30%, while reducing energy usage. With 10 million raised and collaborations with institutions like EPFL and EcoCloud, Gematag is poised to transform high-performance computing with a sustainable, customizable technology. So I think that's a really cool thing. I know a lot of your guys are saying, well, gee, John, what the heck is Gematag? Like, who even is Gematag? And, the thing is this, if you're not in the industry, you probably wouldn't know. But Gematag has been around for a little while. Again, it is a startup company. They're basically trying to become the experts in the cooling industry and primarily basing it for large data centers that are going to be processing lots and lots of artificial intelligence information. And Meta's lawsuit, ladies and gentlemen, it was dismissed. Yes, under the Tech Shield law. I think this is like a crock, but anyway, it's a U.S. District Court judge who dismissed a lawsuit filed by a public policy professor, Ethan Zuckerman, against Meta. Zuckerman, aiming to create a tool for Facebook users to unfollow everyone in their feed, sought legal protection to prevent Meta from suing him. The case hinged on Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which shields tech companies from liability for user content. Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley ruled the Zuckerman could refile later, but dismissed the current suit, marking a significant use of the Tech Shield law. So a lot of you might be saying, John, what is the Tech Shield law? I knew you were going to ask me that. So the Tech Shield law, it's a law that shields big tech. And a lot of large tech companies are basically slipping under the wire. And so it's Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. It's what they call it. And so, when we think about this, it's funny because you don't really believe that this is something that's going to backfire, but it really is, ladies and gentlemen. So Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act of 1996 protects online platforms from legal liability for user-generated content. Section 230C1 prevents legal claims that treat a platform as a publisher or speaker of information provided by another content provider. Congress enacted the 230 to create a level playing field for a new industry, incentivize platforms to remove harmful content for children, allow social media platforms to serve as a forum for free speech. Some examples of the protection are decisions to transmit or remove user-generated content, information developed by the platform itself, activities unrelated to third-party content. However, Section 230 is a little bit controversial and it's complex. Some critics have questioned the policy of granting immunity to platforms. Changes to Section 230 could have significant effects on online speech around the world. For example, platforms might become more cautious or abandon moderation altogether. The Section 230 protects us all. The free and open internet as we know it couldn't exist without Section 230. Important court rulings on Section 230 have held that users and services cannot be sued for forwarding email, hosting online reviews, or even sharing photos or videos that others find objectionable. Now, we always talk about the thing of having media releases, and being in the media for a very long time, I have everyone sign a release, regardless of their age, regardless of what they're doing, whether it's a paid thing or whether it's a guest on one of my shows or in any parts of my social media content. I want them to sign. And they say you don't have to, but I feel a lot better that they do. So Section 230, if we were to simplify it, coupled with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, the DMCA of 1998, in Section 230 provides internet service providers safe harbors to operate as intermediaries of content without fear of being liable for that content as long as they take reasonable steps to delete or prevent access to that content. And so, the Section 230 of the Act 47 USC 230 prohibited treating online service providers as the publisher or speaker of content provided by others or holding providers liable for attempts to eliminate objectionable content. So does Section 230 violate the First Amendment? So another constitutional question is whether it does, with a proposal to amend 230, violate the First Amendment. And Section 230 does not directly restrict or require speech, but reform proposals may create incentives to exercise editorial discretion in specific ways, preferencing certain speech activity. So, what are the exceptions to Section 230? Well, it does not eliminate liability for material prohibited by or protected by laws on obscenity, sexual exploitation of children, or intellectual property. So, in a nutshell, because there's a lot, the law prevents most civil lawsuits against users or services that are based on what others say. Hearsay, right? Congress passed this bipartisan legislation because it recognized that promoting more user speech online outweighed potential harms. The Section 230 of the Companies Act requires that the notice of the meeting shall be sent to all creditors, members, enclosing therewith a statement containing details of the scheme and the effect of the scheme on creditors, promoters, non-promoters, members, etc. And so, yes, this act is here to protect people. But I think when we think about companies like Facebook and Amazon, other companies, they've got their lawyers in there looking for these loopholes. So I'm not entirely, how can I say, impressed with how they're, what they're doing. I think that's a really, really big concern of mine. Is how that's working. So we're just going to have to keep an eye on it, and I'll let you know. Well, ladies and gentlemen, how many of you remember AOL? Do you remember America Online? Does anybody know when was the first AOL call? Does anybody know when that was? So that was a long time ago. The first AOL call was made on May 24th, 1985, when Quantum Computer Systems, QCS, was founded. QCS was the company that would later become AOL, America Online. QCS was founded by Kimsey, who was the CEO, and Mark Surif, who was the CTO. The company's first product was Q-Link, which allowed Commodore 64 computers to connect to an online network that included games, email, and a bulletin board. In 1989, QCS was renamed America Online. In 1993, AOL introduced its first email set of addresses. In 1995, AOL reached 1 million users. In 1996, AOL switched from a pay-per-hour system to a flat monthly fee for dial-up. In 2000, AOL merged with Time Warner in a major corporate merger. They started doing things like, bring your own internet access, right? So I think that's an interesting thing. And the thing you might know, or you might be questioning is, so who wrote the AOL software, if you guys want to know that? So basically, many people contribute to the development of it. Mark Surif, a computer programmer with experience in online communication systems who played a key role in AOL's early technology. Steve Case, an entrepreneur who was the public face of AOL and a driving force behind its success. Jim Kimsey, a former intelligence officer who brought in experience and expertise to the founding of AOL. Eric Bosco, an engineer at AOL who worked on AIM, the AOL instant messaging platform. Jerry Harris, an AOL software engineer who worked on AIM as well. Kosiliya Rekovic, a hacker who created the AOL, a toolkit for breaking federal fraud law and violating interstate trade regulations. Navisoft, the original author of AOL Press on Windows 2000. So a lot of this, transpired and things happened. And the thing that's very interesting about this is that in 1983, AOL begins life as Control Video Corporation, which was founded by Bill von Meister and had one product, GameLine, a service that hooked your Atari 2600 to your phone line to rent games for $1. So again, AOL was founded in 1985. It was one of the first companies to offer internet services to the general public. Over the years, it evolved from the simple dial-up service to a powerful media conglomerate that had a major impact on the way we consume news and entertainment, including the fact that you went from dial-up when I was in high school and with all different types of modems, from We had things that were 300 baud, then we had modems that were 1200 baud, then we had 2400 baud. Then we went up to we had 28.8. We had the 2400, 28.8. Then we actually had 4800, 9600, right? Baud. And so, but the big bottleneck was actually when we started going from the 24 to the 58.8, 58.6, and both modems, okay, Hayes set the standard that allowed compression technology. And so you literally could just talk to the modem and it would answer you, with strings that you would type to it. So things like at dial tone, if you wanted to make a call, like with a typical modem, you could use a string to do AT, dial tone, and then dial the number. And so you probably remember some of the modem commands, things like plus, 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 ATA, answer manually. D was dial or ATD. ATDT was at dial tone, right? ATDP would be pulse dial. Then you had ATDR, which was call and originate only mode on the modem. ATD $ display a list of dial commands that were available. Then you had things like turn echo on, right? Like ATE1, right? ATF0. And so there were also things like, whether you were going to set the modem speaker volume off, were you going to set it only to once it negotiates. And the way a modem worked is you would dial, the phone would ring, the other modem would answer, and then it would make sound similar to a fax machine, but it was different. And when the tones were able to handshake, then the speaker would turn off. So you could set the modem to off, which was ATL 0. If you wanted it low, it was ATL 1. If you wanted it on medium, it was ATL 2. If you wanted on, let's say, more of a high, it's ATL 3. And you could turn the speaker always off, which was ATM 0. Everything all capitals. The modem speaker could be on until a connection is made. That's ATM 1. That's pretty standard. And then ATM 2, which was something people did to annoy others, the modem speaker is always on. You don't want to hear that screeching back and forth once it makes the connection, right? Do we really want to hear that the fax machine is like making this connection? I don't think so. So you could return the registers. You could store different pieces of data. So Hayes was the big one for this. And so, setting setting your modem up. So when you first started out with your let's say AOL software, you told it what modem you had in the very beginning days, and you had to set up your modem init string in AOL. I remember that. You had to do that. If you didn't do that, your modem would not know how to work. There were things like the K-Flex and the V.90 preferred. And the initialization string on that was a plus MS equals 12, 1. You could do a V.90 only, K50X flex, and V.34 disabled, which was one of the compressions. And then there are other ones as well. And there were different modems, like there was a Sportster, there were Couriers, the USR robotics modems, right? And so you had different initialization strings. There was Zoom modems. There were generic modems. I always liked my Hayes modem, and I loved my US robotics modem. It was a great modem. I remember the US robotics modem because, it looked like this little, this little kind of plastic, very small box, maybe just a little bigger than your hand. And then when I actually got my computer, those didn't really get used as much. People were using internal modems. External modems were more cumbersome. And, the thing about the days, when you saw war games and people were putting, he was putting the phone on the modem, that didn't exist anymore. And so modems were becoming more internal, except for some larger applications. And US Robotics had something called the serial port fax modem, which allowed you to not only use the modem, but it allowed you to fax off of it as well. And I remember one of my favorite modems. It was Prometheus. It was a voicemail modem, and the Prometheus modem was pretty amazing because it was one of the very first modems, okay, to allow you to not only use it as a modem, but you could use it as a voicemail system. It was really the beginning entry into that. And so, when you have this modem installed in your computer, and my very first computer was an Apple IIe. Later, I did get a PC, but the Apple II. And before that computer, my first computer, my parents actually won. It was I believe it was a Atari 800. You guys remember the Atari 800? So I had an Atari 800, and that was a pretty interesting experience. I still can remember to this day. If you had to go buy that computer now, it's probably only about $300 some. It's not a lot. And so it was a beige computer. Okay. The keys were like a black, and then they had white or beige lettering on them. And on the side, you actually had buttons on the side. So, and the buttons on the side were actually, they were yellow buttons, in case you guys were wondering. So, thinking about that, and the buttons basically, one was a system reset button, you had an option button, you had a select button, and then you had a start button. And then you had inside the Atari 800, right, where you'd actually put the cartridges. So the Atari 800, they had the 400 and they had the 800. I had the 800. So Atari released this computer in 1979. When the Atari first came out, it was about $500. It's $550 equivalent to $2,310 in 2023. The Atari 800 that I had was basically around $1,000, and in 2020 it was $4,200. It was discontinued January 1st, 1992. That's 32 years ago, approximately. And so the Atari had basically the MOS technology, and it was 6502B, which is not much at all. It was a 1.79 megahertz processor. The graphics was 384 pixels. Talk about like terrible. The colors were only going to render 256. So forget about 65 million. That was just not happening. Your sound was produced by a 4x oscillator with noise mixing, and it was a very small little speaker. And connectivity, you had 2 or 4 ports where you could connect Atari joystick ports, or one Atari SIO, a PBI. You could use a composite monitor. You then had the Atari ST. Then you had other ones there. But I think the most important thing about the Atari is, what you could do with it. And you could do, ladies and gentlemen, you could do a lot with it. I still remember this day, the plug for that computer was this huge, huge power supply. I would probably say it was probably around maybe I'd say maybe a good 4x12, like 4 and then by 12 up. So it was pretty big. And so I remember that computer very, very well. And I remember that on that computer, there were so many things. But see, I got the computer not why most people would buy the computer. My parents wanted at one of these tricky trades I think they went to. And they always say, they never win anything. And they said, oh, gee, they got this computer, so that's great. So inside the computer, this is cool. Now, the Atari was only an 8-bit computer. Okay, we're up to 64 bits right now. So, that's a huge difference. So inside the Atari 800 was pretty amazing, right? You basically opened up the slot, and there were two places to put cartridges. I had Donkey Kong. That was one of the cartridges you could have, and the cartridge that I played around with a lot, which was Atari Basic, and so you had two slots on there, and again, you could do a lot of stuff. And then the RAM, the chips, well, they were like this big. They were like huge. I mean, they weren't like a 2x2. You're talking about something that was probably 6 or 8 inches long by about 3 or 4 inches wide. I mean, that was just nuts. Then they came out with the Atari that had the more of the microwave type keys, the ones that you don't really like press down. I didn't like that. I liked having my original one. And so, you could get other things for it. I really didn't get any other accessories for it because I knew I was going to leave that computer soon. But the Atari 800 had something called Atari. It was called Atari Basic. And so Atari Basic was pretty amazing. Basically, you would write programs. And I remember I'd put everything in the computer. And remember, I didn't have any floppy drives that I added to it. So whenever I typed something, right, and I was done with something, I could save it to one of the cards if I had the right cards, right? And you had to buy that. And so it was just interesting to do Atari. So Atari Basic programming was very similar to Basic. You had your loops like for I equals 1 to 21, poke. So this is probably a good question. I'm trying not to get too deep here. So what did poke do with Atari in Basic? So the poke command, it was used to modify hardware registers, copy software, or even manipulate game programs. Using the poke command incorrectly could corrupt a program, and yes, it could crash the computer. The poke command allowed users to write a number between 0 and 255 into any memory location. So again, it was a pretty neat computer. The thing that I liked about it is that I could do a lot of programming. So when I did do Atari Basic programming, in the very beginning, I didn't have the other cartridges. So if I typed this program, which might be, it could have been 300 or 400 lines, right? And the thing is this, in the beginning, if the power went out, because it was volatile, right? There was no way to store it. I lost everything. And so it was really just about me getting used to the Atari and I guess used to programming. So it really introduced me to what programming was. And Basic has been beginner's all-purpose symbolic instructional code. But it was basically called Atari Basic. And it was an interpreter, a programming language that shipped with the Atari 8-bit computer. And so you could do something simple like write a two-line program. 10, space, print, space, quote, hello, space, world, space, let's say exclamation point, close quote. Then on number 20, go to 10, and it's just a loop. And then you would just type run. So it was pretty cool. I really didn't use it a lot for playing games. I used it to write software, and it was very interesting. But the thing you're probably going to ask me, and there's a reason why I'm talking about this, Atari actually, because people always said to me, what does Atari stand for? So it's a Japanese word that means to hit a target or to succeed. It was used in the ancient board game Go, where it refers to a situation where a player can capture one or more of their opponent's stones on their next move. Atari is also the name of a video game company founded in 1972 by Nolan Bushnell and Ted Damney. The name was chosen because Bushnell enjoyed playing the board game Go, and the term Atari captured the company's vision pursuing success and striking the target. Atari played a key role in the development of the video game industry, and the company's name continues to be prominent in the gaming world. So why did I take this little regression? Well, I was trying to tell you about what was happening in the past, right? But I think one of the most important things, ladies and gentlemen, is that when we think about, we think about the past. So then we went up to the Apple IIe, which is, where I had my first modem, and started using AOL as a dial-up user. And I think I started using AOL. I think I was probably in like around, I'm going to guess, I probably was in around maybe 6th or 7th grade, something like that. And using AOL was interesting because you had dial-up, and there were lots of issues where Microsoft had problems, and it was just it was, when I say a complete mess, it was a complete mess. So I have to say, actually, no, it was later than that. I started using a PC with AOL. I think it had to be right around when I was could have been it was probably when I was, I'm gonna say I was definitely in high school. I know that. And I was using the computer, but I remember that when I really started using the computer a lot, because I remember that I would do some stuff and then I would have to go. I think this was around, I'm trying to remember now. I think it had to be close to either right around my 8th grade graduation. And I got, I had my computer, and I was using AOL, I was using bulletin board systems. So I really wasn't using AOL until I graduated college, right? If we had to ask us, when did AOL start? Well, many of you remember that they had the discs that they sent out because people couldn't spend time downloading them. So AOL began in 1983. Okay, that's when it began. But you probably want to know, when did AOL? I should say when did AOL get used? As internet. I'm trying to remember when that was. That was probably around. It's probably around 2007. So I was using AOL. This has to be right around, because I was giving people my AOL address. I had AOL when I graduated. Let's say grammar school, and I believe they started introducing the internet in 2007. But I had it before that. So AOL online system, BBS, started a lot further back. Again, way before the web. I'm trying to remember, when was the first AOL BBS? And if I remember, this is probably around, I think this is around Prodigy. It's probably right around 1993, 1994. So I was playing with this when I was midway through my high school career. But in my grammar school career, I had the Apple IIe when I was in maybe 5th or 6th grade. And I still remember my teacher, Mrs. Farentino, who was a great math teacher. She wasn't an easy teacher, but she was always fair with me. And she knew I was very smart when it came to technology. And they had something called MECCA, MECCA for their computer, MECCA. And that stands for Minnesota Educational Computing Conservatorium. You'll say that fast. So why did I take this big aggression? Well, there's a reason. So when you get on AOL, I know I took a long path here. When you got on AOL, as soon as AOL started, you would hear this word, "You've got mail," or you would hear something like "goodbye" or "file's done." Well, the voice of that steaming voice that happened every single time was Elwood Edwards, and he died not too long ago at the age of 74. And so everyone heard Elwood's voice, but nobody knew what he looked like. Elwood Edwards was the iconic voice behind AOL's You Got Mail Alert, and his famous recording was made in 1989 on a cassette deck. All right. So that gives you an example. So I was using this just right around, just before, like I said, right when I was just about to just before I was about to go into, just before I was about to go into college. It was like a year or so before that, a year or two before that. So this whole thing became synonymous with dial-up internet era because it would dial in and then you'd hear the message, "You've got mail," and it resonated with millions during the AOL's peak period. He initially started earning $200 for the recording. Edwards' voice became a cultural touchstone, featured in media like The Simpsons and You've Got Mail, right? Despite this iconic status he had, he enjoyed a varied career in radio, local news, and voiceover work. So I thought it was very interesting that he only had to basically say three things: "You've got mail," "File's done," and "Goodbye." And it's interesting now what AOL's doing, and I just wondering, is AOL going to replace Edwards' voice? It's a good question. If AOL is going to replace Edwards' voice, he was the famous voice of You Got Mail, but he was not the original voice. Okay, so when you started using it, there were other people that was another person that was working on it, and so it's very interesting how this all transcended. And this concept of, You've got mail. Some people are like, "Oh, I got to turn that off," because sometimes you didn't want to hear it, and like in the middle of the night, or your computer would dial up. I remember many times I would set my computer just to dial up and download the email, because it used to take a while to get your mail, right? So I would just set it to dial up, but a lot of times I would not turn the speaker off, and I'm like, "Oh, you got mail," and like in the middle of the night, it's like, "You got mail." So sometimes that could be a little bit annoying, but a very nostalgic moment for the internet's golden era. And I think they're probably going to keep him on there for quite a while. All right. So a very other interesting point of news here, ladies and gentlemen. And that is this. That is something that's been really riding the coattails of a lot of people. The MA ride-hailing drivers dilemma, which I think you might know what I mean, but I'm going to clarify this for you. The Massachusetts ride-hailing drivers win the right, finally, to unionize Massachusetts voters. They've approved Question 3, granting over 70,000 Uber and Lyft drivers the right to unionize, a historic moment that allows them to negotiate for better pay, benefits, and working conditions. This victory comes after more than 2 years of grassroots organizing and a large-scale voter education campaign. The passage of Question 3 marks a significant milestone as it establishes the first ever statewide unionization path for rideshare drivers in the United States. It follows a massive driver-led campaign supported by the International Association of Machinists and SEIU 32BJ that mobilized communities and earned endorsements from key politicians and organizations. This win provides drivers with a powerful tool to address issues like low pay, high expenses, and unfair deactivations, and sets the new stage for nationwide advocacy for rideshare workers' rights. I guess Uber and Lyft, they might be changing their tune very, very soon, because now these drivers can actually do something on their own, and they can actually tell these companies where they can go if they don't treat them very well. All right, so lots of cool points there, guys. And Apple seems to decide to make some changes, and they have. Apple now fixes the message reaction with Android. Well, what is this all about? This is one of these weird things where Apple didn't bother to do it because it's not an Apple product. So Apple lets the green bubble now send message reactions between Android and iOS. Now, when an Android user reacts to an iOS message, the emoji reaction will display in line with the message bubble instead of appearing as a separate text line, which annoyed so many people. The update was made quietly after RCS was introduced to iOS in this past September, improving the user experiences for cross-platform messaging. However, it's still unclear whether Google or Apple was responsible for the fix. Apple's move to support this feature shows a shift in its approach to messaging standards through its continuum of keeping exclusive features for iMessage users. All right, so I think that's a very, very interesting thing. And something big happened, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the U.S. orders TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, to halt AI chip shipments to China. Yeah. Including those used in AI applications, just starting recently. And this directive, conveyed via a Commerce Department letter, targets chips of 7 nanometers or more, advanced designs that power AI accelerators and GPUs, graphic processing units. The move follows concerns over export controls after TSMC chips were found in Huawei's HI processor, potentially violating U.S. trade restrictions. And the order impacts multiple Chinese firms and reflects escalating U.S. efforts to restrict China's access to cutting-edge technology. Ooh, boy, that's a real problem. A real problem. That is something that I don't think you can really understand, but they're doing because they want to keep everybody safe and they don't want to have problems. And, well, we got some more news about Meta, guys. Yeah, Meta's got some issues, I'm sure you guys know. Meta has been fined again. Yep, Meta has been fined. The thing about this is really crazy. It's fined $15 million for a privacy breach in South Korea. But what are we actually talking about? Well, that's a great question. So basically, it gets into something really sticky. South Korea is fining Meta $15 million for user data collection. South Korea's privacy watchdog fined Meta $15 million for illegally collecting and sharing sensitive user data, including political views and sexual orientation, from about 980,000 Facebook users without proper consent between 2018 and 2022. Just because it's been several years, don't think you're going to get off free. They still go back and get after these people. The data used for was in place for targeted ads and shared with 4,000 advertisers. It violated South Korea's strict privacy laws, and Meta also faced criticism for lax security measures that enabled data breaches. This penalty adds to previous fines imposed on Meta for similar violations, reflecting increased regulatory scrutiny in South Korea. Meta has pledged to review the decision. Yeah, I don't know if I trust you, Meta. Sorry about that. And are memory chips going to be the next bottleneck for AI? Probably. It's something that we have to think about if we're going to be using AI. So the semiconductor industry faces growing volatility, with memory chips emerging as a potential bottleneck for AI advancements. While chip makers like TSMC recently posted record profits, others such as ASML reported weaker than expected orders, highlighting the sector's unpredictability. Memory chips, crucial for AI's data-intensive processes, could soon limit growth as demand surges, with SK Hynix leading the market amid all of these shifts. Wow, that's quite a bit. And here's another interesting one I think you're going to like. The iPhone update now adds a brand new security feature. Yes, so the new iPhone reboot feature may hinder police unlocking efforts. The iPhone with iOS 18.1 or later will now reboot automatically after being locked for 4 days, making it harder for police or thieves to unlock them using password cracking tools. This security feature adds an extra layer of protection by resetting the phone state, which could complicate forensic investigations. Well, it's good for a lot of people that they're doing that, right? So if your phone is locked for like 4 days or more, it's going to basically reboot. All right. And there is a new solar cell situation that is emerging. So, yeah, a new blade coated with Perscovit silicon solar cell hits 31.2% efficiency. Wow. A team of engineers at King Abdullah University of Science and Technology, in collaboration with Helmholtz-Zentrum Berlin, has developed a blade-coated Perscovite silicon solar cell that achieves a remarkable 31.2% efficiency. Their design incorporates 2D Perscovite layers on bottoms of the cells and uses scalable ink-based fabrication methods to improve both efficiency and stability. By employing blade coating instead of spin coating, they created a 3D layer of Perscovite in an inverted pin configuration, which minimizes energy mismatches and performance loss. The cell maintains 80% of its peak efficiency after 1,700 hours of normal sunshine exposure, highlighting its potential for stable, durable, and scalable solar cell production. That's really a huge step in the right direction for having a greener, more sustainable world. And here's one that I think you're going to like. A new paper-based device generates electricity from air moisture in wearables. Researchers at Binghamton University have developed a paper-based wearable device that generates electricity from moisture in the air, offering a sustainable power solution for wearable electronics. The device uses a moisture harvesting technique involving hydrophilic Janus paper, bacterial spores, and a unique gradient that produces an electric charge. This innovation addresses the limitation of traditional batteries and wireless power transfer systems. The device is designed to be flexible, wearable, scalable, and disposable, which aligns with the growing interest in eco-friendly low-power sensors and health-related applications. The team aims to refine the device's efficiency, integrate energy storage, and explore miniaturization techniques for future applications. Sounds like they're on the right track with that, guys. Really, really on the right track. That is very, very exciting. And a new AI system detects toxic gases with speed and precision. Researchers at the University of Virginia have developed an AI-powered system that mimics the human sense of smell to detect and track toxic gases like nitrogen oxide, NO2 in real time, using a network of graphene-based sensors enhanced with nano islands of metal catalysts. The system detects gas leaks with high efficiency. It employs a machine learning algorithm to pinpoint leak sources efficiently and accurately. This technology has the potential to improve air quality monitoring in industrial, urban, and residential settings, reducing health risks from air pollution. And the system is optimized using a Bayesian algorithm to place sensors effectively, ensuring faster and more accurate detection while minimizing resource usage. Wow. And something also interesting is the new eco-friendly hydrogen cooling that's developed. Researchers unveil a greener way to liquefy hydrogen, crucial for energy storage, using magnetocaloric cooling technology. And I think that is something that is really, really important. So researchers at the University of Groningen have developed a magnetocaloric cooling method that efficiently liquefies hydrogen using an environmentally friendly approach. This method, which utilizes materials that heat up under a magnetic field and then cool down when the field is removed, consumes less energy and avoids harmful refrigerant gases. The groundbreaking aspect of this research is that it uses material free from rare earth metals, reducing environmental impact and cost compared to conventional methods that rely on energy-intensive materials. This innovation offers a promising solution for hydrogen production, crucial for sustainability, for energy storage, and fuel usage. That's pretty cool, ladies and gentlemen. Well, you know what this means. We're just about at the end of our show here today. It's been amazing being with you guys and sharing all these innovations that are popping up in our world. So, revolutionizing tomorrow. This is tech that transforms your world, and you guys know where to watch and hear about it right here every week on the JMOR Tech Talk Show. Be sure to visit Believe, BELIEVE, me, MEACHIEVE.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, whether it's about tech, whether it's about motivation, whether it's in long form content, short form content, or maybe it's just static posts. Whatever it is, you will definitely gain some very powerful, insightful knowledge by checking out my content. Have yourself an amazing rest of your day and weekend. And I'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to be November 22nd, next Friday. Take care, everyone, and I will catch you guys real soon, okay?